I'm recording this session. Let me make myself as a presenter. So yesterday's class, we discussed about classes, objects, and methods. Methods are what are all the actions you are performing. Walk, talk, these kind of stuff is there, right? That is known as methods. So we discussed about data types, constants, classes, objects, and methods, right? So today I'm going to tell you about OOPS concepts. This is very, very important. If you are a beginner in Java, you should know all the OOPS concepts well. Okay, there are mainly 6 OOPS concepts. In that, 2 are very, very important. One is polymorphism, second one is inheritance. Okay, let me start with inheritance. Okay, what does it mean by inheritance? So to explain this example, to explain this concept, let me take few examples. Selenium, which batch it is? Yeah, here. New class. Okay, I'm designing a class to describe a man. Okay, we will talk about the variables later. We'll talk about the information later, or I will define some information also. Like a man contains a name, a man contains age. Okay, remaining all we'll discuss later. Okay. And now I am mentioning the actions what he can do. Void walk, so he can walk, and void talk. Apart from that, in this case, I am assuming that a man can drive. Only man can drive. Okay, I am assuming that. I am not saying that only man can drive, but I am assuming here. Void drive. Okay, this is the action he can do along with walk and talk. Now I am trying to describe a woman class. So here also, for her also, she contains a name. So there will be S, and then she can also walk, she can also talk, and then assume that only women can cook. Only women can cook. I am assuming like that. So a man can walk, a man can talk, but only men can drive, and here I am assuming that only women can cook. If you look at both the classes, a man contains name, woman contains name. A man contains age, a woman contains age. He can walk, she can walk. He can talk, she can talk. Okay. If you look at here, all the 4 are generic for both, but cooking is specific to woman and driving is specific to men. Okay, I assume it like that. So I duplicated, right? I duplicated those methods. There also I created name, here also I created name. There also I created age, here also I created age. So I am duplicating the things. To eliminate this one, to eliminate this train, I don't wanna repeat my code again and again. To eliminate that, inheritance concept came into picture. The most important concept in OOPS is inheritance. Inheritance means what? In general sense, inheritance means getting the properties of our parent, right? Whatever the properties your parents are, you will get it by inheritance. Like that, here also, we can create a class, and by making it as a parent class, I can get the behavior of it. Okay, that's why it is known as inheritance. If you look at both men and women classes, they contain name, they contain age, they can walk, they can talk because they are human beings. The so the properties, the variables what I have defined that are not specific to women or men, they are specific to human beings. Since we are human beings, we contain name, we contain age, we can walk and we can talk. So that is the behavior of a human being, but not the behavior of a, but not the behavior specific to either men or women. So the good way to design these classes is the good way to eliminate this redundant code is create a class like this human. Okay, so assume that this is not there. So if I have the duplicate variables like this, private string name, private string page, void walk and void talk. So this is the behavior which is specific to human being, right? So I should define that common behavior. I should define that common behavior in one class named human. Here I don't mention them again. Okay, I will remove the variables and actions which are specific, which are generic to human beings from men class. I will simply say extends. Extends means inheriting. So if I want to inherit the behavior of human class, I need to extend that class. If I say man extends human, that means that a man can use all the variables of the human class. A man can call all the methods of human class. That is the meaning. So man extends human means man will become the subclass, that means child. Human will become the superclass, that means parent. So I established parent-child relation in between man and human class. So even I don't define walk, talk, name, age, variables and methods in man class, I can use them because he is a child and he is the parent. So child is allowed to use all the properties and actions of the parent class. That is known as inheritance. Now here also in women, I will remove all the common behavior like name, age, what, these are all I will remove. Here also I will say extends and human. So I didn't repeat the code, right? In both the classes, I am using them by putting them in common place. This is known as inheritance. So by extending a class, I can implement inheritance in Java. Using inheritance, a child class can access the variables and methods of the parent class. Using inheritance, I removed the redundancy, right? I removed the redundant logic, redundant code I removed. I placed it one common place and both are using it. Okay, this is known as inheritance. So if I create an object for men class, man object equal to or man dev equal to new man. So if you create an object, if you say dot, you will get the list of all the methods within that class. But if I say dev dot, then I will get a drive because that is defined in man class. Apart from that, I will get this walk and talk also. I will get this walk method and I will get this talk method because they are in the parent class of men. They are defined in human and man is extending human. So this object is able to call this method. This concept is known as inheritance. If you are in a position to call the methods and variables of the parent class, that is known as inheritance. And see this, I cannot call dev.cook because cook is defined in woman class and there is no relation between men and women. That's why on top of dev, I cannot call cook method. I can call walk, talk or drive method because I can call the methods which are defined in man method and I can call the methods which are defined in human method. There is no relation between men and women. So if you wanna put some specific behavior to that particular class, you will define only within that class and the common behavior you will put in the parent class. Here on top of Pujita, on this object, I cannot call drive method because drive is specific to man. So woman object cannot call that. So I can call cook here because cook is defined in woman class. Like that it will work. So if we have some common behavior, you will keep them in the parent class and all the child classes will extend it. Is it clear for everyone or do you have any doubts? If someone asks what is inheritance, can you tell them? You can reply me through chat. If you have any doubts, you can unmute and ask me. Hari, Pujita.
It's I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Can you'll run anything in this?
Come again?
You'll run the program for this?
Yeah, I can run. I didn't implement anything, right? So
Yeah.
you cannot see anything in the console.
Okay. You didn't implement setters and getters, right?
Yeah. So it's not mandatory to create getters and setters. If you have some variables, then you will create. So here I can create now. If you want. Very source. Yeah. So if I put getters and setters, if I define getters and setters like this, so here I can do dev dot set name equal to Devendra. Okay, and I can call sysout dev dot get name. So if I call it, I will get that value. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But it's not mandatory to keep setters and getters for each and every class. If you wanna define, if you wanna set some values, if you wanna retrieve some values, you need getters and setters. Okay, so getting the behavior of the parent class is known as inheritance. You will use extends keyword. If you use extends keyword, then you can create that parent-child relation in between the classes. Now, second concept is polymorphism. So first we discussed this inheritance. Second concept we are going to discuss is polymorphism. So polymorphism is a Latin keyword. So you can split into two words, polymorphism. Poly means many, morphism means forms. So the book definition is one thing existing many forms. What does it mean by one thing existing many forms? So polymorphism is applicable for methods. It is not applicable for classes, either classes or variables. It is applicable for methods. In Java, polymorphism means having having same name for more than one method. So I define walk and talk methods, right? Instead of calling them as walk and talk, if I define talk method twice, that is known as polymorphism. Talk method is implemented in two ways. So talk method is available in two ways. That is known as polymorphism. Okay? In polymorphism means one thing exists in many forms. In polymorphism, there are two types. Method overloading and method overriding. Method overriding. Okay. You can make a note for this if you want. So in Woop's concept, today we are going, so there are totally 6 concepts. Now we are going to discuss on two things, inheritance and polymorphism. Inheritance I have already explained. Polymorphism means many forms, one thing exists in many forms. Okay. In Java, polymorphism means having same name for more than one method. That is known as polymorphism. Okay. In polymorphism, there are two types, method overloading and method overriding. Okay. Now I will explain what does it mean by method overloading. I am erasing this. Let me create a new class called max. In yesterday's class, I told you, right, there are two data types. There are 6 data types to carry numeric values. There is an int value and there is a float. Int is there to carry normal numbers, normal numeric values like 2, 3, 4, something like that. And float is there to carry decimal values. If I have 2.34 or 5.66, like that, if I have a decimal value, I cannot store it in integer. If I store 5.66 in integer, in int value, it will store only 5. It doesn't bother about the precision value. So if I want to store decimal values, I have float. Okay. Max means what? What kind of actions you will do in max? Everyone will do four operations, right? 4 actions: add, subtract, multiply, division. So these are all the 4 actions we do in max. So if I make max as a class, I will define those actions as a methods in my class. So if you give me 2 methods, so why I am saying void means I am not returning anything. For a method, you should define a return type, what that method is returning to you. So I told you, right, actions are nothing but the method. If you perform some action, you will get some result, right? So what kind of result you are getting? What kind of result that method is returning? That you should mention. If you don't, so if I set a name, I am setting it and I don't have any result, right? I set it and I don't have any result. So if I am not returning anything, I will mention it as void. If I am returning anything, I will mention the type here. So if I add 2 integer numbers, as a result I will get another integer, right? If I add 2 plus 3, then I will get 5. That is my return value. So I should not keep void there, I should keep int. So here I am not returning anything, that's why I mentioned it as void. If I am going to return something, I should define the type. So I am returning int. If I add 2 integer numbers, I will return int. So I am accepting 2 values, int a comma int b. And what is the logic I will implement here? So if you are returning anything, you should keep a return keyword in front of it. Then, so if I ask you to add 2 numbers, what operator you will use? A plus b, right? If you say a plus b, then 2 will be added. Let me create an object for it. Max m equal to max obj equal to new max And if I say obj dot add, so I can call that method add. And if I give two numbers 2 comma 3, it's returning me something. It is returning me it is returning me the result, right? After adding two numbers 2 comma 3, I am getting some result that I am getting here. So the result is the variable. As I told you, you should define the type. What is the type of the result? Int. You are adding two numbers, so you will get some integer value. So your return type is also int. System.out.println is a statement to print it to console. So if you want to see the result in the console, you should write this command system.out.println. Within this, if you give some variable, that value will be printed here. So let me run it. See, I got 5, right? I gave 2 comma 3, I got 5. Let me give 6 comma 3. So to add two numbers, I wrote this method. Okay, if I give 6 comma 3 as the inputs, you may feel that I can calculate it within 1 second, right? But to write the program, it took me 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Why I'm wasting my time? I can easily add two numbers. But if I give the number like this, 666, so I mentioned it as integer, right? I should not give this much big number. So if I give the number like this, it will take time for you to calculate. But if I run it, I got the result within fraction of seconds. That's the beauty of the program. If you write it once, you can run it a number of times. For big integers, you will take time. If I write multiplication logic here, so I will write multiplication also. Int add, maybe not, int is not enough to carry big numbers. So int a comma int b return. So for multiplication we will use star. Multiply. Yeah, here I can call multiply. The return type is long. See this, within fraction of seconds it gave us the result. So the multiplication of 624363 is 226512. So like this you can create simple classes and you can create the method. So what are the actions you can do that will become method in the class. Okay. So this is known as class, this is known as method. Now we have to discuss about method overloading. Okay. If I am adding two numbers, then I named the method is add because I am adding it. I gave the method name as add. Now I am going to add three numbers. So I need two methods. One method to add two numbers and another method to add three numbers. If I don't have method overloading, I cannot use the same method name, right? So I have to give some other name. Add three numbers. Add three. And I have to say int a comma int b comma int c. And in the method implementation, I will say a plus b plus c. But luckily, Java is providing method overloading. So you can use same name for more than one method. Even I remove these three here, it will allow me. I can use the same name. This is known as method overloading. This add method is available in two forms, right? In one form, you can add two numbers. In other form, you can add three numbers. This is known as method overloading. If you don't have method overloading concept, you cannot use same method name for more than one method. But here I am able to use same name for more than one method. But there is there are two conditions to use same method name. If I try to use the same syntax here, so if I try to use add name with the same arguments, int a comma int b, with the same arguments, if I try to use the method again, it doesn't allow me. If you want to use the same name for another method, you should change either number of arguments. That means if you have two arguments here, you should make it 3. You should change either number of the arguments. If you use same name with same arguments, it doesn't allow you because there is an ambiguity, right? If you have same name and same arguments, which method it will call? There is an ambiguity. That's why it doesn't allow you to use same name with same number of arguments. If you want to achieve method overloading, you should vary the number of arguments like this. Here I have 2 arguments, here I have 3 arguments. Like that I can achieve, or I can vary type of the argument. So instead of saying int a comma int b, I can say float a comma float b. Return a plus b. So you can achieve method overloading by varying either number of arguments or by varying either one of the type of the argument. So if I have int a comma int b, I can define float a comma float b, or I can define like this also. Int add int a comma float b. It is also allowed. So here I have 2 arguments. In this add method also I have 2 arguments, but I am able to use it because I changed one of the type of the argument. Here the type of b is int, here the type of b is float. So I can achieve method overloading by varying either number of the argument or by varying one of the type of the argument. One minute. Yeah. So in the max class, how can he distinguish the methods means? How can he distinguish all these method means? If I call add method, which implementation will be called? All the implementation's name is add only. Then how can he identify the correct method means? Based on the arguments you are passing. If you pass 2 and 3, both are integers, right? Both are integers. So he will go to this method, int a comma int b. So you are passing 2 integer values, then he will go to this int a comma int b. If you give add method with 2 comma 3 comma 4, then he will go to this method because this method contains 2 int values and you are providing 2 integers. So based on the arguments you are passing, he will identify the right method. So that's why you should not use the same name with the same number of arguments, same type of arguments. You should change either number of arguments or one of the type of the argument. If you vary it based on the arguments you are passing, he will identify the right method and he will call the right implementation. If I say 2.2 f and 3.4 f, that means I am declaring 2 float values. If I pass 2 float values, he will go to this method because it contains 2 float methods. So based on the number of arguments, based on the arguments you are passing, you will identify the right method within the class. So this is about method overloading. Now let me start with polymorphism. Again, polymorphism means what? Poly means many, morphism means forms. So polymorphism means many forms. One thing exists in many forms. In polymorphism, there are 2 types. One is method overloading, second is method overriding. In Java, method polymorphism means having same name for more than one method. If I define 2 methods with the same name, that is known as polymorphism. In polymorphism, there are 2 types, method overloading and method overriding. Method overloading means having same name for more than one method within the same class by varying either number of arguments or by varying one of the type of the argument. If I vary them either by number or by type, then only I can identify the right method based on the arguments I am passing to the method. Okay, this is known as method overload. Till method overloading concept, is it clear for everyone? Did you understand what is polymorphism? What does it mean by method overloading? If you have any doubts, don't hesitate to ask me. You can unmute and ask at any time.
Can you show the result for this?
For what?
For the mod max object
Okay,
that one.
okay. You want me to run the program? Yeah. So here I am just adding it. I am not printing it, right? That's why I didn't get any value. So let me get the result here. Result equal to. So that is of type float. So if I say, so there is no need to type system.out.println. You can say syso. You will type like this. Then say control space. If you say control space, then entire statement will be added by Eclipse. That is the advantage if you write the program in Eclipse. If you write it in Notepad, you need to type entire code. But in Eclipse, you will get lot of sessions. You don't need to type entire string. You will just say sysout, syso and control space. If you do, then you will get this. For main method also, there is no need to type public static void main. The entire syntax you don't need to type. Say main and control space. Then you will get the session. Click on that. Then you will get the syntax. So now I am giving result here. Okay, this is the result. So 2.2, 3.4. Now the result is 5.6. Okay. Clear, Rajan? Okay, good. Now, the second type in polymorphism is method overriding. Method overriding. Okay. Method overriding will exist in will exist only if you implement inheritance. In case of inheritance only, you will get this concept, method overriding. So the main purpose of method overriding is, so I told you, right, I defined a common behavior in one class, human. So this out, the implementation is I am walking. If I call this walk method, it will print me this statement, I am walking. Okay. I created two objects, men and women. So there is an object called Dev, there is an object called Pujita. So we both are extending human class, right? So I can call walk method here. And here also I can call walk method. So if I call this, it will print I am walking because the implementation is there in the parent class. Here in the parent class, walking is there. Now assume a situation like this. I am lazy, I am not walking. Pujita is walking right now. So she wanna print the message I am walking. I wanna print the message I am not walking. If I change it here, what will happen? If I say I am not walking here to print for man object, it will be reflected for woman also, right? Now if I call this, both will print I am not walking. But I want to print I am not walking for man object, I am walking for woman object. In such cases, if their behavior is differing from one to other, I cannot change it in the common class. If I change it in the common class, that is applicable for both the classes. So in such cases, if I wanna print the message I am not walking for one of the child classes, then the child class can override the definition. So I am walking message in the parent class, but men class is not willing to use that. You wanna print the message I am not walking. So if you don't like your parent class implementation, you are allowed to change it. You are allowed to change the implementation of it. If you don't like the implementation of the parent class, the child class is allowed to change the implementation of it. So what I supposed to do is I just need to copy the same method from the parent class, and I need to place exact method. So with the same name and with same arguments, I need to paste it in the subclass, and here I can write whatever I want. I am not working. Okay. So if I don't like, so woman is perfectly fine. She is walking. She wants to use the parent implementation only. But man is not walking. He doesn't want to use the human class implementation. He doesn't want to use the parent class implementation. So if you don't like your parent class implementation, you are allowed to modify it by using the same name, same syntax in your class. Okay, this concept is known as method override. If I run this method, if I run this class test objects now, see this. For men dot walk, it is printing I am not walking. For woman, it is printing I am walking. Okay, because we overrided the definition. Here so modifying the definition means in Java terminology we'll call it as overriding. We overrided the definition. That's why it is known as method overriding. Okay, so uh, the definition of overriding, you should give it in this way: having same name with the same syntax for two methods in both parent class and subclass. So in case of method overloading, you should have same name for more than one method by varying either number of arguments or one of the type argument within the same class. Within the same class, you will have those methods. You will have those methods within the same class in case of method overloading. But in overriding, you should not change either number of arguments or you should not change either type of the argument. You should use the same syntax. You should use the same method name, same number of arguments, but they should be in parent class and subclass. They should not be in the same class. One should be in the parent class, other should be in the subclass. That is known as method overriding. So method overriding means having same name with the same arguments in both superclass and subclass, or in both parent class and child class is known as method overriding. How method overriding will be helpful? If 10 classes are extending a parent class, if one of the child class is not interested in the implementation of the parent class, I cannot do the modification in the parent class. If I do the modification in the parent class, that is applicable for all the child classes, right? So if one child class is not interested in the parent class definition, then by copying the same method name, method syntax into the class, and within the implementation they can change it. Implementation means the code what you are writing in between the braces. Okay, so you are allowed to change this, you are allowed to modify this by copying the syntax into the child class. This concept is known as method overriding. So using method overriding, a specific class can override the definition of the parent class without touching the implementation in the parent class. Is it clear for everyone? What is method overriding and why is it useful for us? That's it for today. These two are very important. If you wanna write effective programs in Java, you should understand inheritance and polymorphism. If you understand inheritance well, you can remove redundant code. If you understand polymorphism well, you can change the definitions of the parent class. Okay. So if you don't like any implementation, you can override the definition and you can write whatever you want in the child class. Or you can create multiple methods with the same name in the class. So in that way, polymorphism is helpful to remove redundant code. This one is helpful. Inheritance is helpful for us. So it's clear, right? Okay. Rajan, do you have any doubts?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, okay then. Yeah, we'll meet tomorrow, man. I'm leaving.